Hello everyone, let's review for our test. So we have done a few things here. We've done a little bit of graphing, we've found some inverses, we've solved some equations, and then we've just basically learned some exponent rules and how to rewrite exponents as radicals. So that's pretty much what you should expect to see on your test. Let's start off with the graphing. That's what we did most recently. So this is a square root problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is list my perfect squares, 0, 1, 4, and 9, and then the square root of those. If I said this is the square root of x, that would be 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's my parent function, but what I'm going to have to do for this graph is I have to realize that it's a translation. So x plus 2 on the inside makes it go left 2, and plus 1 on the outside makes it go up 1. So to translate this, if I want to go left 2, I'm going to subtract 2 from all of these x values. So instead of 0, now it's negative 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. 4 minus 2 is 2, and 9 minus 2 is 7. That'll move it left. Now, I need to move it up 1. So to go up 1, you would change the y values, add 1 to all of those y values. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can draw it. Negative 2, 1 is right here. Negative 1, 2 is right there. 2, 3 is right there. And 7, 4 is right there. So this looks like half of a parabola, so draw like a smooth curve. And you want to hit those 4 points, and that's your radical. That's it. That's all I need to do. That's a square root. This is always the parent function for a square root. Cube root, for a cube root, we're going to use perfect cubes. So that's negative 8, negative 1, 0, 1, and positive 8. And the cube root of negative 8 is negative 2. The cube root of negative 1 is negative 1. And then similarly 1 and 2 for positives. Okay, that's the cube root of x. Now I need to do a translation. So x minus 4 makes it go right 4, and plus 5 on the outside makes it go up 5. So if you go right 4 from here, negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4, negative 1 plus 4 is 3, 0 plus 4 is 4, 1 plus 4 is 5, and 8 plus 4 is 12. That'll move it right 4, up 5, add 5 to all of these, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those should be nice because we picked those. So now that I've got my table, let's draw it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. There's negative 4, negative 3. Wait a minute. Something's wrong here. Right 4. No, I'm okay. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. 4, 5, and 5, 6. You always get this little triple right there. And then 12, 7 is not going to quite fit on the page, but I can kind of go like that and be like, it's going to look something like that. So cube roots have this inflection point in the middle where they turn around. So let's draw like that, and then it goes the other way, like this. Sweet. That's your cube root. And what you really look for is this point right here. That's the guy that moved. It went right 4, up 5 from the origin. All right, that's graphing. Nothing too fancy. What else you got? Finding inverses. So to find the inverse, you flip x and y. So instead of f of x, I'm going to call that x. And this is the cube root of, instead of 2x, it's 2y. So to isolate y, the first thing I need to do is subtract 5. X minus 5 equals, on the right side, I still have the cube root. And to undo taking something to the 1/3 power, that's cube root, we're going to take both sides to the 3rd power. That'll cancel out the cube root. And I'm not going to expand that. We'll just leave that like that. But on the right side now, you have the radicand, 2y minus 1. So the last two things I can do, I can add 1. So x minus 5 cubed plus 1 is 2y. And then the last thing, the very last thing I'll do is divide by 2. So put that whole thing over 2. So it's x minus 5 cubed plus 1 all over 2. And instead of saying y now, I'm going to call this f inverse of x. That is my inverse function. Okay, that's what I started with. Here's the inverse of that. Let's do another one. This one's linear. So x equals negative 2/3 y plus 4. Subtract 4 on both sides. And now, to get rid of multiplying by negative 2/3, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is negative 3/2. And we're going to do that on both sides. On the right side, that cancels out, and you get your y. On the left side, negative 3/2. You don't have to distribute. You can just leave it like that. But again, instead of y, let's write this as f inverse of x. So flip x and y, solve for y. It's basically solving equations, but you have an extra variable in there. So speaking of solving equations, isolate the root so add 8 to both sides. Now you have x to the 1/3 equals 12. And now to undo the root, you take the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/3 is 3. So cube both sides. 12 cubed. That's a big number. All right, let's see. Let me get my calculator out. Come on, calculator. Here we go. 12 to the 3rd is 1728. 1728. There you go. Big number. Okay? This one's already by itself, so cube both sides. X squared plus 16 equals, I know 6 cubed is 216. So now I have, x squared plus 16. Okay, yeah. X squared plus 16 equals 6 cubed. Now you will subtract 16 on both sides to get 200, and then the last thing you can do is take the square root of 200, which we should practice simplifying that radical. 200 is 2 times 100, which is 2 times 50, which is 2 times 25, which is 5 times 5. So this is 2, 2, 2, 5, 5. And that means 1, 2 will make it out, and 1, 5 will make it out. So 10 radical 2 is your best answer. Okay, one more. And I'm going to square both sides. And this one's going to be a little trickier. The left side's not a big deal. But on the right side, I have to FOIL, so I need more space. X plus 4, x plus 4. So when you expand that out, 6x plus 15, x squared plus 4x makes plus 8x, and 4 times 4 is 16. Now hopefully you realize if you have x to the first and x squared, you got to get everything on one side, just because we got a factor. So let's do that. Minus 6x minus 15, minus 6x minus 15. Now it equals 0. 8 minus 6 is 2. 16 minus 15 is 1. The numbers that multiply to 1 and add to 2 are x plus 1 and x plus 1. So that means x must equal negative 1. Now, you got to check these because sometimes you have extraneous solutions. If you plug in negative 1, let's do it on both sides. You have to make sure that you get a positive number, and that is a positive number, so I think we're good. Negative 6 plus 15, the square root of 9 is 3. So, yep, that one works. But let me just remind you, let's say we got like x equals negative 5. Okay? And you plug that back up here, you get a negative 1 on the right side. What you need to realize is that when you take a square root, you will always get a positive number, and a positive number will never equal a negative number. So, had I gotten negative 5, I know that would have been called extraneous. It didn't happen, though, so don't worry about it. Simplify using exponent rules. All right, so exponent rules, if you have the same base, we are going to add. So we have to add the fractions. 2/3 plus 4/3 is 6/3, which is 2 wholes. So this is x squared. Okay, when you add fractions, the denominator stays the same. 2 plus 4 is 6. Okay, so 6/3, that's just x squared. So that comes out to x squared. Power to power, you multiply. And when you multiply fractions, you multiply across. Negative 3 times positive 2 is negative 6, and 5 times 1, I don't know why I keep writing that, negative 6 over 5. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, 1 times 5 is 5, which you should write as 1 over 6 to the 5th. We shouldn't have any negative exponents in our simplified answer. One more, power to power and a fraction, so x squared, if you cube that, now you got x to the 6th, y cubed. We're going to multiply all these exponents by 3. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, and 2 times 3 is 6. Now what can I do? These 9 x's in the bottom are sad, so they're going to move to the top. Well, that's a y to the 6th. I better be careful. X to the 6th, y to the 3rd, x to the negative 9th, y to the 6th. There we go. Okay, so for these guys, I know that I have these 9 x's in the bottom. They're going to move up top. Now you have 15 x's in the top. And if you have 3 y's in the top and 6 y's in the bottom, you could cross out 3 of them, and you would have 3 left in the bottom. 3 of these y's would cancel. 3 would be left. You can use subtraction to help you, but just realize, is it top heavy or bottom heavy? All right, if you're multiplying, so just multiply. 4 times negative 3, that's negative 12. X cubed times x to the 4th, that would be 7 x's. X, 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 x. Add them up, you get 7 of them. One more like this. So first, 20 over 35, reduce the fraction. Those are both multiples of 4. Or, no, they're not. They're both multiples of 5. This is 5 times 4, and this is 5 times 7. So if you divide them both by 5, you get 4 over 7. If you have 17 x's in the bottom and 10 in the top, or 7 in the top, you could cross out 7 of them, and you'd have 10 in the bottom. And if you have 8 y's in the top and 5 in the bottom, you could cross out 5 of them, and you would have 3 in the top. So 4y to the third over 7x to the 10. All right, last thing, can you rewrite these things in their different forms? What you need to remember is the denominator is the degree of the root. So this would be the cube root of, and I'll just write this as 3x squared. This one would be, if the degree is 2, that's square root of 15y, and we're going to cube that. Make sure you put those in parentheses, otherwise they're not considered simplified. And then the last thing, going the other way, we have 3y, and the power is 2, and the root is 5. So 2/5, 5x, the power is 4, and the root is 3, so 4/3. And that's it for your quiz review. So if you can do those things, you are going to be in great shape on your test. Make sure you hit the books and make sure you hit that like and subscribe.